So here we're going to take a look at the front doors of the building. Um, just to kind of get started here, I'm going to show you a little bit what we're going to be working on this lesson. The door handle, the molding. Here's a square. What we're going to be working on right there in that square. We're going to be doing this all high poly and then converting it in the normal map into, and then finally into the low poly model. Yeah, let's get started. I'm just going to delete this here, and we'll take a look at it in 3ds Max. Now to get this in 3ds Max, I did a few things to start off. I'll just start from scratch here. I'm going to make a plane, and then to get the exact size of the image, we're gonna use the length and the width. Actually, we're gonna go back to Photoshop here and get the size. So 5154, we're gonna copy that, and then 3033. That's easy enough to remember, so we'll use that in 3ds Max. Now the width in Max and the width in Photoshop are switched. So the width is actually the length, 3033, and then paste the 554. And then segments, we're just going to keep it to 1, keep it low poly, because we don't really need to do that. But this is the reference, and then we're going to go take the material editor and let me just make a new layer here, reference to. So now we're going to go into the material editor and actually apply the map into the diffuse slot, and this is our front door map. And then we'll just apply it to the plane, and now we have a reference in 3ds Max that we can work off of. This material here, I like to put down the opacity to 0 because, well, I'll take a look at, we'll go into that more later. So to get started here, we're going to go to the front plane, and then we're going to create a box for this thing at the bottom of the door. And then we'll go into the perspective view and kind of shape this up to be the actual width of the door guard. So now we're going to just make a sphere for these rivets, and then we'll just convert it to editable poly and then delete the other half of, because we don't really need those polygons. And see, I grabbed a couple extra here, so to avoid that, you just go into a different view, the front view or side view, left view, and select the edges from there, and make sure you get the ones that aren't on the screen too, and then just delete them. Okay, so now we have our rivet, and right now it's behind the object, which isn't good because you won't see it. So I'm just going to take the center and snap it to the corner, and now you can see we're right on top of the front of it. And now I'm just going to place it probably on the far right corner, and then go back to our front view, place it in the exact spot we want, and then hold shift and left mouse button the move slider, and then you want to make sure it's copy, not instance. And the number of copies we're going to have, I don't know how many, but it's probably around, oh, I don't know, we'll just go 30 or maybe 19, 35 just to be safe. And then we'll just go ahead and delete all the other ones we don't need. But let's turn off the reference layer. Right now we got them on both layers, so we're going to kind of clean up the layers here, and delete these extra ones that we don't need. And it looks like the spacing is a little bit off on this last one, so we don't want that. We don't want half of one sticking off the edge. So let's go ahead and delete that, undo that, and then maybe move it a little bit less, and 30. And now we got a little bit more better spacing on the end. And we'll just delete these ones that we don't need anymore. So now pretty simple from here on. You can kind of see how this was progressing. So now we'll just copy the rest of them over to this left side, and So let's move on to the next thing. Basically, I'm happy with that and the way that turned out. Um, but here's the handle that I made previously, and we'll be going into making this in just a second here. Um, turn off edge faces and turn off the reference, and we can kind of see what this is going to look like. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to keep my reference up here just as a reference. Normally you just have the picture reference, but we actually have the model here that I'd previously done, so I'm going to build it all for you, but I'm going to keep that just open just to make sure that it's as best as it can be. Here's a top view of it. So we want a cylinder that's going to fit that. Normally you would probably just estimate it from your reference picture, but since we have this other model in here, I'm just going to make it compared to that size and slide it down. Go back to my front view, and we'll kind of match up the size to the picture. And then I want to make it more than 18 size. I'm going to make 36 sides. That way it's a little bit more high poly. When we go bake the normals, it's going to be nice, and there's going to be no edges that we're going to see. So let's drop this down and make our first hook or loop. And as I scale it up, it's kind of the reference picture is a little bit slanted, so that's not a big deal as long as we keep our object the right size. We're going to make an extra copy of one here, just kind of place it over there because it'll come in handy later. Once we change this one, we're going to need an exact copy later of some of the other parts. So here I'm just going to move this into place and then make it editable poly, and then select the edges, and if you go to edge faces, select the side ones and then go to connect. Make sure you click on the option box, and then you can so we're gonna make one of them for right now, and then you can click on your vertices and slide down. So let's now extrude this. Now it's going up because it's going for the normals, but we want not by polygon, we want local normals. And it's very important that you get this setting right, because otherwise you'll get bad results depending on what you're doing. See, right now it's actually focusing it up, and then if we do by polygon, that's not good either, because now we're getting these gaps and it's kind of like a gear, and we don't want that. So we're going to go local normals, and that'll actually give us the result we want. We want to extrude it out. Now this just has to look right. It doesn't have to be a certain size. Let's continue on with this part here. Now I made this a little bit differently. I put the part we just extruded to the left. And as you can see, I was just going to mention earlier that this reference over on the right doesn't look as good as the one on the left door. So I'm going to go in here and select the reference and turn it off. And now we're going to move this into a new layer, call it new handle, and then unhide it, and then bring it over, and we're going to work on the other one. And then we'll place it in place here. Go to our invisible material and apply that. This is 0 opacity. That way we can see the edges, but we won't see the material. I like to work this way sometimes. Depends on what I'm doing, but it does help see the reference in the back. You can kind of see when you're up close. So now what we want to do is bring this other piece over here that we saved from earlier, and now we have the exact size cylinder that we need. And I'm going to save another copy over here just in case for later. And we're going to make this the bottom of the handle. If you look at the picture right from like farther away, it's a little bent. So I'm going to just make a copy here, and then right now I want to align this so it's exactly aligned with our old one for the center of it. So now we have it aligned just right. Hit apply, and then OK. And so now it's right in the center of our old cylinder. So we don't have to eye it. We can actually just go to the align tool. And so now I'm going to make some edges and go to connect. I think I actually hit the wrong one. I hit split, undo that, and hit connect with the option box. And in order for the bend to work, we need more edges. Actually, I think there's a ring here that I want to work on first, and make sure it's on the right setting. Hit OK, and then collapse all. And you can see we're not really touching here, but doesn't matter if it gets too far, but it has to be inside the other one. Now we have this separate one that we copied from earlier to make the bend, but we're going to need to make it an editable poly, and then here's the reference from my old one. It's kind of like a pipe, bending pipe, and so that's what we want to make now. So let's add height segments to it. So 5 might be good. An even number might be better, like 8. And then we'll go to bend. And then first thing I like to do when I'm doing this is test the angle. And then you can click on the bend axis, is the Y, the X, and the Z, depending on. So it looks like this isn't going to work with this cylinder. It's giving us weird, strange results, and that's because when we built the cylinder, it was scaled to the wrong one. So now we're going to rotate it and then reset the X form, reset that, and then collapse after we do the out of poly, and then do another bend, and then see now with the Y axis we're getting the right effect. And then all we got to do is set it to 90 and then rotate it both 90 degrees up and then 90 degrees to the left. And you can see down at the bottom there are numbers 90, 95, and then we'll just rotate another 90. So we're just going to slide it in here and take a look at the other views, and then it's a little bit off, so I want to move it a little bit over to the left, to the right, and then to the top, and then just slide it down to where our cap is. We're going to have to move that up and then actually scale it, or bring the vertices down to fit the other pipe. Okay, so now we have the bottom pretty much done. I'm just going to copy this here and bring it to the top and rotate it 180, and then because we're going to need the same thing at the top, this is the angle tool. Option box, if you set it to 5 or 45, it'll snap exactly to that, and it comes in handy. It's an essential tool you need to know about. Otherwise, all your angles are going to be at 94.784. You know, it's got to snap to the right angle. So now I'm going to move this up and scale our pipe down a bit. I'm going to scale it to fit this top part. And you can see in the reference it's a little bit to the left, but as long as our geometry is straight, that's okay. Because the reference isn't what we're going to use, it's just what we're using to see the detail. So now I'm going to take these vertices and move them up, making sure that they will be the right amount of thickness here. Leave that where it is, and then from here you can kind of get the idea of what we're going for, and I'll get more into detail later about how to make the other parts. Let's bring over this other piece that we saved from earlier, copy it. You can copy it by holding Alt and then hold Shift to keep it in line. So now I'm just going to clean this up, put them on a new layer, name it new handle 2. New handle, the original one is my original one from earlier that I made. So now we're going to make this and so I'm just going to scale it down to the about right size, make it an edible poly, grab the edge tool, and make this, I don't know, let's see here, how many are we going to need? We need 1, 2, 3, 4, so let's go with 4 for right now. Then we'll grab our vertices and move them down to where we need them. Move this one down, move this one up, and finally move this one to fit the up. And we're getting closer here. So now I'm gonna take the this here and hit the extrude option box and then extrude it out. See, now we're on the wrong thing, we're on locals. So let's extrude it, and I think we're still on the wrong, yeah, we want to do by normal, local normal, and then extrude it out. So now we got that. I'm going to take this edge loop, select selection, and extrude this out. What I want to do is yeah, I'm going to select these edges, hit connect, hit the option box, hit make sure there's one, and then grab our polys and delete the top. This way both of our ends will look exactly the same. So now I'm going to connect this and scale this up a bit and scale this vertices on the x-axis only up, and then now we want to reset our pivot because oh, snap's not on. Let's turn snap on. If we rotate it exactly 180 degrees and then move it up, now we have it there, but it's not connected, so it's not dead on the line. So let's go to effect pivot only, and then hit snap it to the middle, and hit the endpoint. Make sure endpoint's on, and then go to mirror, and we want to copy it, and then we want to mirror it to the y-axis. And now we have the exact same ends. Both the same, exact same. So I'm just going to attach them to each other and make them one piece. Now if we go to the element part of it, it's still two pieces, but it's connected as one. So now I'm just going to copy this and drag it up to the top. So we got the same one up there. Hit OK. And copy this and rotate it 90 degrees so we got the one on the horizontal. Bring it down. Looks like it's a bit different from the actual one, so I'm just going to put it right here and then delete what we don't need. Take these and extrude them out and all the way to the end, about right there or so, probably right there. And grab these ones. Grab these ones and bring them over to the right. Probably, oh, I don't know, probably right there. Looks good. Alright, and now I'm just gonna grab these polygons, grab these polygons, delete them because we don't need those. Doesn't look like that's that. And grab these ones and shrink them down. Grab them again, shrink them down. And then we're just going to take the vertices and slide them right into the other one here. Make sure it's fully in there so it looks like it's molded. And then grab these ones and move them over just a hair. So now it kind of looks like that, yeah. Okay, maybe a little bit bigger. Grab these vertices, now they're straight. Just scale them down uniformly. And let's work on the left side of it here. I'm just going to grab this old one here, reuse this, bring it up here, rotate it 90 degrees, So I'm just going to take this and slide it over a little bit to the left. And that looks good. So what we want to do now is do a little cleanup work with the layers. And then I think what I want to work on next is the plate, where the actual thing on the bottom connects to the door. But since I can see it a little bit better on the side, I think it's the same part. I'm going to do it on the left side of the handle here. And I'm just going to create a standard primitive with a cylinder and make this here, confirm it, and then scale it so it's flatter. And a few tricks here that I want to show is, now that we have the cylinder, I'm going to make it into an invisible material with the edge faces, and then just kind of drag these out to match the reference. Make sure when you're selecting them you're getting both ends. So just kind of do a few things here. This one's kind of messed up. I'm going to switch that. Just kind of extrude it or scale it down a little bit. Maybe scale these ones up a bit. Just kind of getting the shape. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least now it's a lot better than that last one we just made. So now I'm just kind of moving these points around. You get the idea. Now I think that's good. We want to just make sure it's as best as I want it to be. These points look a little pointy, so I'm just going to move these forward, and you know, it's kind of looking like that. Zoom out to just kind of get perspective of it. I think these points there are a little too pointy. Let's see. Okay, so now we got the perspective view. I'm going to go ahead and take this and scale it up, and then take these sides and connect them and make 2 or 3 different edge loops. Try to select this one here, but that's not going to work out. So we'll just select each face by itself, scale these in since they're still selected, unselect these with Alt, scale these ones in, unselect these with Alt, select these ones, and then unselect those and scale it in. And now we're getting more of a shape of what the actual thing looks like. It's a little too thickness, so I want to scale it down a little bit.